Good afternoon, learners. Today we're going to do geometry of straight lines. But we're going to do more problems. Before we continue, remember the facts that you have learned about parallel lines. So I'm going to remind you about three facts here. The first one concerns corresponding angles. As we know that when you have parallel lines, corresponding angles will be formed and will be equal. We're also going to have alternate angles, and they are also going to be equal. Still, when you have parallel lines and a transversal, we're going to have cointerior angles, but they are not going to be equal, but they will add up to 180. So we know that alternate angles are both inside the parallel lines, but on opposite sides of the transversal. So in our next example, if we highlight the angles, we will see a Z shape, and that Z shape will definitely give us the alternate angles. Again, we have to remember that a transversal is a line that cuts across two lines, and in this question, the transversal will be HJ, as you can see on the figure here. So the green part, the green angle there is given as 98, and we also have an angle represented by letter R. So the two angles, as you can see them, they form a Z shape, meaning that they are alternate angles. And because they are alternate angles, like we indicated earlier, alternate angles are equal, meaning that R will be equals to 98. So now let's continue trying to find the value of x. When you look at this line ADJ, we have two unknowns, letter x and letter d. So it won't be easy for us to start calculating letter x. We have to try to accumulate some information first. So if you look at this line here, we have angle G and 121 degrees, and they are both on a straight line. So it is easier for us to calculate letter G. So G will be equals to 180 minus 121, which will be 59. So the reason for that will be angles on a straight line. So now when you look at D and G, they form a Z shape. So we call them alternate angles, and we know that alternate angles are equal, so meaning that D will also be 59 degrees. And learners, remember that when you talk of alternate angles, you must always indicate the parallel lines, CE parallel to FH. So now because we have angle D as 59, and on that straight line where we have angle X, it means we'll be having letter X 50 degrees and 59 degrees. So because we are running short of only one angle, it will be easier for us to calculate letter X. So letter X will be equals to 180 degrees, subtract the sum of the two angles 59 and 50, which will be 109. So if we subtract that from 180 degrees, because they are angles on a straight line, then X will be equals to 71 degrees. So now we have to remember again an important information. We know that if we have two lines that intersect, we can have different kinds of angles. So when we look at this figure here, 47 degrees and 66 degrees are divided by an arm. So that arm there, we will make 47 and 66 to be adjacent angles. So we know that adjacent angles on a straight line should add up to 180 degrees. But 47 and 66, they are not on a straight line because we still run short of this angle here. So now, when you look at the figure again, that line HG and EF, they intersect at a common point. So they will form vertically opposite angles, and in this case, R equals to the sum of 47 and 66, and we call them vertically opposite angles. And we also know that if we can add all the angles around this point, they will give us 160 degrees, meaning that angles around a point equals to 360 degrees. So now if we are asked to determine the size of R and give a reason for that, this is what is going to happen. Before we can calculate that, let me remind you that EF and GH are straight lines, which means that they form vertical opposite angles when they intersect, and these vertical opposite angles are equal. So therefore, R will be equals to 66 plus 47, which will be 113 degrees. So now, in this figure, we are given measurements of angles as well as letters that we have to calculate. So the first letter that we can calculate is letter A, and letter A is vertically opposite with 60, so meaning that A will be equals to 60 degrees vertically opposite angles. So now let us look at letter B. Letter B is on a straight line with 51 degrees and 110. So to find B, we're going to subtract the sum of 110 and 151 from 180. So letter B will be equals to 19 degrees. So the reason for that will be angles on a straight line. So letter C is inside a triangle with letter A and letter B. So as we know that angles in a triangle equals to 180 degrees, we're going to find letter C by subtracting the sum of the two angles, 60 degrees plus 19 from 180. Then the answer for letter C will be 101. Then we go for letter D. Letter D is on a straight line with C. Already we know that letter C is 101 degrees. So meaning that for us to find letter D, we're going to subtract 101 from 180. So the difference will be 79 degrees. So the reason will be angles on a straight line. So for us to find letter E and letter D and 51, they form angles of a triangle. They form a triangle. So for us to find letter E, we are going to subtract the sum of the two measurements, 51 degrees and 79, which will make 130. Then because sum of angles of a triangle is 180, we're going to subtract 130 from 180 degrees. So the difference will be 50 degrees, meaning that letter E will be equals to 50 degrees. So learners, we have come to the end of our presentation, but I'm going to leave you with the link as well as the QR code where you're going to find your quiz, and please make sure that you do the quiz for you to understand geometry of straight lines better. Thank you very much. See you on Thursday. Thank you.